Did you know that during World War I, soldiers actually tried to fight with swords on pistols, rocket-propelled crossbows, and even deadly mobile shields that looked like something out of a medieval fever dream? Today, we're counting down the top 10 weirdest weapons used during World War I, from flaming death trains to shovel guns. And trust me, number 1 is something you absolutely won't believe was real. Number 10. The trench knife from hell. Let's kick things off with a weapon that looks like it was crafted by a blacksmith in a horror movie. The French nail, or as the French politely called it, the poignard bayonet labelle. At first glance, this thing looks like a metal spike forged in some DIY dungeon. That's because it basically was. Soldiers crafted these by hand in the trenches using whatever scrap metal they could find. Old bayonets, steel rods, and even reworked files from toolkits. Why? Because trench combat wasn't about long-range accuracy. It was up close, face-to-face, and absolutely brutal. And when you're crouched in a muddy ditch with the enemy just a few feet away, silence was golden. WW1. Come for the history, stay for the weaponized tetanus. Number 9. The bicycle tank hybrid. Next up, a vehicle so confusing it would make Inspector Gadget weep. Introducing the French military's ill-fated attempt at mechanized mobility, the auto-mitrailleuse chenille. Sounds like a war machine, right? Nope. It was a bizarre Frankenstein between a bicycle, a tank, and an awkward dad on a weekend DIY kick. The rear had caterpillar tracks like a bibby tank, the front, a bicycle wheel. And the idea was, let's give soldiers armored mobility, powered by pedaling. To no one's surprise, it wasn't exactly embraced, but it earns a spot here for sheer audacity. It's like if a toddler drew a tank from memory and the French military said, yeah, let's build that. Number 8. The Krumlov of WW1. The trench periscope rifle. Now imagine trying to shoot at the enemy without showing your head above the trench. Seems impossible, right? Not in 1915. Enter the periscope rifle, WW1's original corner shooting contraption. Invented by clever Australian and British troops, this ridiculous-looking weapon took a standard-issue rifle and stuck it in a wooden box, with mirrors. Think sniper rifle meets periscope meets arts and crafts day in the trenches. The periscope rifle wasn't perfect, but it was clever, practical, and gave trench warfare a much-needed upgrade, even if it looked like something your neighbor made out of plywood in bathroom mirrors. Number 7. The shovel gun. Okay, imagine being handed a shovel and being told, here soldier, dig your trench. Oh, and if things get messy, try shooting with it. Yes, folks, meet the entrenching tool to a real-life weapon that takes multi-purpose to an insane level. It was especially popular with Russian forces. Their standard-issue spade was sharp enough to use in melee combat. Think decapitations, skull-crushing, and full-on whack-a-mole trench brawls. But in some rare prototypes, the spade also housed a single-shot firearm in the handle. Yes, a gun, in a shovel. The idea was that a soldier could whack one enemy and shoot another, all without switching tools. So, next time you see a shovel at Home Depot, maybe treat it with a little more respect. Number 6. The flaming coffin. Coming in at number 6 is a weapon so terrifying, so insane, and so impractical, it might as well have been built by a Bond villain. Introducing the 𝐬𝐿𝐵𝐵's large gallery flame projector. A name that sounds like a fancy art exhibit, but in reality, was basically a giant underground flamethrower. Picture this. Engineers would bury this mechanical beast in secret tunnels under no man's land, hiding it just feet away from enemy trenches. When triggered, it would unleash a jet of burning fuel over 100 feet long, literally bathing the enemy in fire. Sounds devastating? It was, but also incredibly risky. Installing one took days. It required dozens of men, hundreds of gallons of fuel, and the perfect location. And if the enemy spotted it early, boom. Effective? Absolutely. Practical? Early. But unforgettable? 100%. Number 5. The Leech trench capel tops. Oh yeah, because nothing says modern warfare like throwing grenades with a slingshot that looks like it was built by your uncle in his garage. Say hello to the Leech trench capel top, a wacky British invention designed to lob bombs over enemy lines when mortars were either too heavy or too expensive. How did it work? It used massive rubber bands, like tire-thick bands, to fling hand grenades in a high arc. You'd stretch the bands, load the grenade, and fire it like a deadly medieval toy. The range was consistent, to put it kindly. You might hit the trench, you might hit a cow, you might just blow up the poor guy loading it. Still, if you're looking for the most hilariously unpredictable way to blow stuff up, this is it. Number 4. Mobile ballistic shields. Okay, picture this. You're in no man's land. Bullets are flying, artillery is shaking the earth, and your brilliant strategy? Push a giant metal shield in front of you like you're delivering room service in hell. Welcome to the bizarre world of Mogul trench shields. A concept that sounds tactical but played out more like a tragic slapstick routine. These things were basically human-sized steel plates on tiny wheels. The idea was simple. Soldiers could roll these shields in front of them while advancing across the battlefield, protected from enemy fire. But here's the problem. They weighed hundreds of pounds, rolled like broken shopping carts, and could barely move over the mud-caked, crater-ridden terrain of. Number 3. The anti-Zeppelin dart. Now, let's talk about Zeppelins. Those massive floating whales of death that rained bombs on cities like silent assassins in the sky. In the early days of the war, Germany used these airships to terrorize Britain, dropping bombs on civilians. The problem? Hitting them with regular guns or artillery was nearly impossible. They flew too high, and they were just big bags of hydrogen. So what did Allied pilots do? Well, before incendiary billets became widespread, they got creative and dropped fourchettes, or as I like to call them, death darts from above. These were slim, pointed steel projectiles, about the size of a pencil, designed to be dropped by the hundreds from biplanes directly onto enemy zeppelins, or enemy soldiers. Somewhere, a Roman centurion was probably smiling in ghostly approval. Number 2. The exploding dog bomb. Alright, get ready, because this one is dark, disturbing, and somehow even weirder than it sounds. During WW1, nations got desperate. But the Russians, they took desperation to the next level by almost deploying a plan involving exploding dogs. Yes, dogs, with bombs, trained to run under enemy tanks. While this tactic is more often associated with World War II, some early versions of the idea were reportedly tested during WW1 in experimental military programs. The plan was simple and horrifying. Strap explosives to trained dogs, starve them, and then send them charging toward food placed under enemy tanks. The explosives were rigged to detonate when the dog reached its target. Let's just say, history has some chapters we'd rather skip. Number 1. The Paris gun. And now we've arrived at the crown jewel of WW1 weirdness, the Paris gun. A weapon so absurdly massive, so frighteningly over-engineered, it might as well have been designed by a comic book supervillain. This German mega cannon was the first long-range strategic weapon in history, capable of firing shells over 80 miles to hit downtown Paris from behind German lines. That means people in Paris could be minding their own business, getting a croissant, reading a newspaper, and suddenly, boom, a shell lands, and no one even heard it coming. Why? Because the shell flew so high, up to 100 feet, that it left the stratosphere. We're talking space cannon. The shells were massive, over 200 pounds each, and the barrel of the gun was so long it had to be reinforced with steel rings. After just a few shots, the barrel would wear down, so the Germans had to make shells in slightly increasing sizes to fit the ever-widening tube. To this day, no one has ever found a complete one again. So there you have it, the top 10 weirdest weapons used during World War I. From underground flamethrowers to death darts from biplanes, the Great War wasn't just about trench warfare. It was a testing ground for some of the strangest military ideas ever conceived. Some of these weapons were terrifying, some were hilariously useless, and some were just flat out insane. But they all share one thing in common. They prove that when humanity goes to war, it also goes a little crazy.